Okay, ready, start again.
It was an evening in November, as I very well remember. I was walking down the street in drunken pride. Then I fell into the gutter, thinking thoughts I could not utter, and a pig came by and lay down by my side. So I lay there in the gutter, thinking thoughts I could not utter, and a colleen who was passing gently say, "You can tell the man that loses by the company he chooses." And at that the pig got up and slowly walked away.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Fred. I have this little story about you that goes back about 52 years. You were walking nonchalantly down Metcalf Street, I remember exactly, and Bill and I were in his car. Bill was driving straight at you, and I wondered which would give way first. Well, Bill did, because you walked straight over the hood of the car, up on the roof, down the hood, and kept walking nonchalantly down Metcalf Street.
That's great, thank you.
Tell me, dear Fred, we've cycled together, we've walked together, we've been charter members of the Hole in the Fence gang for me almost 10 years. And the thing that I really want to recall this morning is not an old memory, it's a new one we made together with Jane and Ian and you when we went to Canterbury Cathedral. And that's a very special time for us to remember. We're very grateful that we had that time with you. We went to church together, we worshiped there, we had a wonderful tour, and we have a memento for you of that time. So God bless you, Fred. I'm so grateful that you're my friend, and I know Janie is too.
Hi, I'm Sharon. You know me because I'm in the choir, the volunteer choir, and often Fred has just finished helping with the earlier service. And as he goes by, we always greet one another, and it's sweet.
Alrighty. Go ahead.
Okay, hi Fred, the only man I landed in a ditch with.
How about you?
My story about you that is kind of funny, but I have a lot of memories because you're very inspirational, was when we went on the Sutton bike trip, and Rick was leading us along this path in the back, and then you and I got caught up going up a hill, and we both flipped off into the ditch. You got out of it and sprung out of it with a big smile on your face and went on, and I was just lying there dumbfounded trying to crawl out. But anyway, it's always been fun going on these trips with you. Happy 90th birthday.
But you're liking your e-bikes.
You know we love you. You're wonderful.
Excellent, thank you. Alrighty, let's hear it.
Hi Fred, it's Brian. My fondest memory is of you, the captain of the boat, when we were doing the Rideau Canal trip. And what happened on that trip with you in your captain's hat? We ran out of gas. You maintained your cool, we called for rescue, we eventually got in. But you took the responsibility wonderfully, and as always, you'll always be my captain. Cheers, mate.
Greetings, Fred. All the very best from downtown Elora, I guess. Maybe it's Midtown. Anyway, the first time I met you, I'd heard rumor that you were a well-known international financier, referred to as the Bank of Fred by your two sons, and that was on the Namibia trip, and it turned out to be entirely true. Unfortunately, I never was able to become a customer of the Bank of Fred, but all the same, it's been a pleasure to have met you then and to continue our acquaintance over the years since then. All the best, and look forward to 100 not out, to use a cricketing terminology. Okay, bye.
So if anybody has been to the Thompson residence, Bleak House, you'll know there are books everywhere. Fred loves his books on all subjects. And I met Fred initially as an architecture student at Waterloo, and he had a very strict policy of lending out his books, and you had to sign a book for them to make sure you returned them, because books have a bad habit of walking away and never coming back. So I'm sure I have a couple still in my basement in boxes, which I have to return to him. But the one I really do recall is Francis Yates' The Art of Memory. And for the life of me, I cannot remember if I returned that book. Thank you. That's my Fred story.
I have to tell you a story who actually mirrors Fred's personality quite well. A couple of weeks ago, he came over to our house and I gave him some Swedish books. And when he was leaving, we looked, Judy and I, my wife, looked at his blouse. And what a lovely blouse you have. Where can you find that? And we chatted along. And then, just before he left, he took off his blouse and gave it to me, and it's this one.
Oh, wow.
Without hesitating, you can have it, he said. And then the comment was, I'm glad you didn't like my pants.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Roommate in Rome.
Oh, okay.
He and Barbara spent a term with us, and we shared an apartment. And it was great fun. And Barbara helped me cook a dinner for guests. Oh, sorry. And they were wonderful. And Ian was with us too. We had 7 people living in this little, well, it was a good sized apartment, and so it was fun having Fred as a roommate.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, and we traveled north, and it was great. But Rick is the one that works with him.
Just to embellish that story a little bit, one of the major events that took place in that period where we were living together with Fred and Ian and Barbara was that our eldest son was baptized in the Pantheon, being the only living being baptized in the Pantheon for the last century and a half.
That's pretty cool.
And I will always remember Fred because Fred, we went out and there is no baptismal font in the Pantheon, so the whole thing, Rosemary organized the whole thing. I was busy teaching, but we got a garden urn, a terracotta garden urn, and filled it with water from the fountain in the piazza in front, which is aqueduct water, Aqua Vergine, and it's freezing cold. So Fred
was so thoughtful.
Smart Fred brought a thermos of hot water to pour in, so when we dunked our little Adriano into the water, he didn't freeze his little butt. But I have just one other little story, because I was Fred's colleague for many, many years, but Fred was also my professor.
Okay.
I mean, he was a professor in the School of Architecture at Waterloo while I was a student. I actually never had him as a professor, and part of that was because when I was in third year, he was supposed to teach our third year class, but in the great wisdom of the administration of the school, they offered third year students a chance to do independent work, which I jumped at, mainly as a way of escaping Fred, because Fred's reputation, and this was his nickname amongst the students, was Fred the Axe. Okay? Because he had this reputation of students would get to third year, he would teach them in their 3B studio, second half of third year, and miraculously a third of the class would fail.
Oh my.
So we all called him Fred the Axe, and so a bunch of us decided we were just going to go off and do something on our own, and we watched the rest of our class suffer as we kind of played in the playpen. Some of us did real work, some of us didn't. It was fine, but Fred never laid a hand on us. Meanwhile, the lecture room that he was doing his seminars and things in was unheated in that building, and a third of the class came down with pneumonia. It was a winter term. It was pretty grim. So, cut to a couple of years later, and the School of Architecture had the very bad idea of hiring me to come back as a professor. So I was hired back while I was bicycling across Europe. I came back to school and was told that I was teaching design, and Fred was going to be in charge of a 3B studio that I had never taken because I'd done my little thing. And I was scared shitless. Like, what am I going to... Like, I was quite young. Like, literally 25 years old. I was hired as a professor at 25. And I sit down with Fred, the axe, and he shows me the course outline, and I start reading it. And it made no sense at all to me. So I was scared. But I said, Fred, like, I don't think they'll understand this. I don't understand what you're trying to get at here.
Yeah.
And Fred just looked back at me and said, well, that's what you're here for. You rewrite the whole thing. So long. That was Fred.
How many people failed that year?
Oh, very few.
Oh.
Very few. We did a much better job.